I didn't realize my boss was trying to erase me, not fire me, not yell at me, not do anything obvious. Something worse. He was making me doubt my own value so slowly, I almost helped him do it. At first, it looked harmless. He'd compliment me in public, then question me in private. He'd say things like, "You're one of the few people here I can trust." And then, 5 minutes later, "I'm just not sure you're ready for bigger responsibility." That combination messed with my head, because praise makes you open up, doubt makes you chase approval. And that's the first rule they don't want you to know. When someone controls your emotional temperature, they control your behavior. I learned that the hard way. When I first joined the company, I worked harder than everyone else. I answered emails late at night. I fixed problems that weren't mine. I stayed available because I thought that's how you prove yourself. And for a while, it worked. My boss noticed me. He started pulling me into meetings, asking for my opinion, making me feel like I was finally getting close to a promotion. But then the pattern changed. He stopped giving clear instructions. Instead, he'd say things like, "Use your judgment." That sounds empowering, until the moment your judgment becomes the reason something failed. One week he told me to move fast. The next week, he asked why I didn't slow down and check with him first. One day, he praised initiative. The next day, he called me reckless. I remember sitting in my car after work one night, staring at the steering wheel, replaying every conversation in my head. Did he actually say that? Did I misunderstand? Was I becoming careless? That's when I ran into one of the oldest manipulation tactics in power dynamics, ambiguity as a weapon. Dirty bosses rarely attack you directly. Smart ones create confusion. Because confused people become easier to control. They spend all their energy interpreting instead of acting. And once you're stuck in that loop, you become predictable. You stop taking risks. You over-explain. You apologize too quickly. You start asking for permission to breathe. That was me. I was documenting everything in my mind, but not on paper. I was defending myself emotionally, not strategically. And that was my biggest mistake, because here's another rule. If the game is being played quietly, your defense has to become quiet too. Not dramatic, not emotional, precise. I didn't understand that until the meeting that changed everything. It was a Monday morning. A senior director was in the room. My boss was unusually calm, too calm. Then he said, "We've had some concerns about consistency." My stomach dropped. He didn't say my name at first. That was the trick. He spoke in vague language, letting the tension build. Then he started referencing projects I had worked on, but describing them in a way that made me sound unstable. Not incompetent. That would be easier to fight. Unreliable. That word is poison in an office, because incompetence can be fixed, but unreliability destroys trust. And suddenly, I understood what had been happening for weeks. He wasn't trying to correct me. He was building a story about me. That's what manipulative people do in power structures. They don't just attack your performance. They shape perception. They know that in most workplaces, truth matters less than narrative. And if you don't control the narrative, someone else will. I wish I could tell you I stood up in that meeting and destroyed his argument with one brilliant speech. I didn't. I froze. I said too much. I defended too hard. I explained context nobody cared about. And the more I talked, the more guilty I sounded. That's another brutal rule. The desperate person always loses the frame. Manipulators love long explanations, because every extra sentence gives them more material to twist. After that meeting, I went home feeling humiliated. But for the first time, the pain made things clear. I stopped asking, "Why is he doing this to me?" and started asking, "What pattern is he using?" That question changed everything. Once I stopped taking it personally, I could finally see the structure. He used praise to hook loyalty. He used vagueness to create mistakes. He used private criticism to weaken confidence. And then he used public concern to damage credibility. That's not leadership. That's image warfare. So I changed my strategy. Not overnight. Not dramatically. Quietly. First, I stopped reacting in real time. When he said something designed to provoke me, I didn't rush to defend myself anymore. I gave short answers. Neutral tone. No visible panic. Because reaction is information. And manipulative bosses study your reactions the same way poker players study tells. Second, I started documenting everything. Every request. Every deadline. Every change in direction. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted reality. Manipulation thrives where memory gets blurry. Documentation restores gravity. Third, I stopped seeking emotional validation from the person creating the instability. That one was the hardest. Because once someone has trained you to chase their approval, breaking that addiction feels like withdrawal. You keep hoping the good version of them will come back. The supportive boss, the mentor, the one who noticed your talent. But that version only appears when it benefits them. That's the trap. The same person making you bleed cannot be the person you run to for healing. And once I truly accepted that, my entire energy changed. I became harder to read, harder to corner, harder to rewrite. A few weeks later, he tried the same move again. He referenced a task in front of other people and implied I had missed a key detail. This time, I didn't ramble. I said calmly, "Just to keep us aligned, I'm looking at your message from Thursday, where you asked me to prioritize speed over full review. I followed that direction exactly. If priorities have changed, I'm happy to adjust going forward." That was it. No anger, no long defense, no wounded tone, just facts. And the room went quiet. Because dirty power depends on fog. Facts are weatherproof. From that day on, something shifted. Not because he respected me. People like that usually don't transform. It shifted because he realized I was no longer easy to manipulate. And that's the final rule they never want you to learn. Your power begins the moment you stop performing confusion for someone who benefits from it. Some of you watching this are in that exact situation right now. You're exhausted, not because the work is hard, but because the game is hidden. You keep second-guessing yourself, replaying conversations, wondering whether you're too sensitive, too emotional, too ambitious. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just finally noticing that some workplaces are not built on honesty. They're built on silent dominance games. And once you see that clearly, you stop begging the game to become fair. You learn the rules. You protect your mind. You guard your words. You document reality. And most importantly, you stop handing your self-worth to someone whose power depends on shrinking it. I didn't beat my boss by humiliating him. I beat the game by becoming impossible to distort. And that's what they don't want you to know. If you've ever dealt with a boss, manager, or authority figure who played dirty without leaving fingerprints, subscribe. Because the most dangerous manipulation is the kind that looks normal until it's already inside your head. And in the comments, tell me this. What was the first sign that made you realize someone at work was manipulating you?